See that little guy right there? Don't worry about that little guy right there. That's what we call a hiccup, a miscalculation. We don't do that no more. Hey, what's up guys? You're watching DIY Dozier. This is going to be episode number 7 of the bathroom renovation or remodel. On today's episode, we're going to be getting into this. That's right, we're going to tackle what it takes to take this header for this door and turn it into a beam for my load-bearing wall. We're going to relocate some electrical also. Stick around, I'll show you the tools that are required and how to get the job done. So we are back in the bathroom and we are working on this wall today. So first things first, I've got this electrical here. It runs all the way up through the ceiling plate, which has to be removed through the attic. So I'm going to have to get this guy taken out here. No, I'm not an electrician and I don't recommend trying this, but yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. So yeah, this has to come out through the top up there. And once that comes out, I'm going to relocate it back down through this next to the yellow wire right there. I'm going to drill a hole up there, bring it right down through, because I'm going to end up putting my switch right here on this wall. So along with that is a little more work that has to be done. Not too fond of this right here. It is in the way. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 2 pieces of 2x4 out of here. We're going to take that box, loosen it up off the wall also, and eventually I'm going to have a larger box to accommodate 2 switches and the outlet in the same right there. So anyway, we're going to leave it for now. I just need to get it out of the way, get it through the ceiling here, let it hang down low right here, just so that it's out of the way so I can take this down. So this wall here, that header that you're looking at, let's do a little wide angle. There we go. So that header right there that we're looking at, essentially what I'm going to do is we're going to cut this whole wall down, but it is load bearing. So I'm going to support it. I'm going to put jacks up here to the ceiling, hold that all up. We're going to take another king stud and install it along this wall here up high. So this essentially will go against the ceiling plate right there and all the way across. This will be gone also. So there'll be another 2x4 right here acting as a king stud. We're going to run it up the wall right in there. And this will set on that edge all the way across to that edge over there. So, this is something that I've never tackled before. Again, I'm learning as we go, watching a lot of other people's YouTube channels and trying to figure things out. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and turn the power off to this box. Next, I will disconnect all the wires in this box, cap them, and then we're going to pull it up in the attic through that hole there. Once I get it up, I'm then going to drill another hole beside that one right there and run the new wires back down here, and then I can get out of the attic. So yeah, let's go kill the power. So here we are on the fuse panel. We got lots of stuff going on over here. You know, you can see that everything's labeled. I've already switched a couple of these that should have been where the bathroom was, but I still have lights on in there. So I'm going to switch a few more. That's right, I'm just going to go in here and pop a couple of these bad boys over and hope we get it. So laundry room, that's in here, there. All right, let's go check. Walking into the bathroom now, it appears I got it. There is no light coming through there. Light switch is still on. Yep, so we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and take this cover off here. And yeah, we'll get this wire disconnected. I'm going to put some caps on it. And then we will run the wire back up to the attic. Let's give this a shot. So that wasn't too terrible. I am a little bit intimidated by messing with anything electrical. Yeah, so here we are with the wires removed, undone. They were uncapped. There's no power going to them. You know, I don't like touching this kind of stuff. It terrifies me. But anyway, I had to actually get them bare to get it out of the back side of the box, because the box hole was not big enough to accommodate the wire caps or whatever, twist caps. There's our box on the ground there. So that was coming out the bottom of the box. We won't need that anymore because we have one right there, and we're relocating to that wall. So I'm going to go up in the attic and I'm going to pull these out. I'm going to take my drill with me. I've got a 1-inch spade bit. I'm going to drill a hole through that right there next to the yellow wire and drop it back down through that. So let's go do that. Okay, so I'm in the attic and I have found our yellow wire going down into that ceiling plate there. And I have also found our white wire here that's going down to the other one. It's should be right here, pretty much beside it. Yeah, I got a hold of that. So I got to pull this one out. Yep, there it is. So that wire is going to have to go back down. And there was 2. So I wonder, I don't want to reach in there. That's insulation, that's not any fun. A second wire that was down there. There it is. There it is. Got you now. Cool. Now that I got them both out, go ahead and drill a hole right there. Gotcha. All right. Drop these 2 wires back down. All right, got both of those down there. Let's get out of this attic. So obviously I'm not sure what it went to, but this would be like a feed wire, and this is the wire going to something else. And the something else goes that way. So I'm gonna assume that it's probably going to be power going to this one right here. So anyway, one at a time. So oh man, I am coming out of the ceiling. I'm not coming out of the wall. Oops. Let's go drill another hole. All right, back in the attic. There's our new hole right there, and here's our old hole. So we came in through the ceiling here. Now we need to go down through that. So let's get this fixed, shall we? There we go. Now that is more like it. That's what I'm talking about. See that little guy right there? Don't worry about that little guy right there. That's what we call a hiccup, a miscalculation. We don't do that no more. All right, let's get this wire back up. So like I said, I am not an electrician. Do this at your own risk. What I did do was I took a picture of the wiring on the switch before I disassembled it. So I know exactly where the wires need to go back. Let's put them back. And we are all wired back up. So let's go make sure that A, this light works in here above us, and B, that whatever this goes to still turns on. So I guess I need to make sure that light works, that light works. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's going to this switch here. But anyway, let's go flip the breakers back on. All right, here comes the suspense part. I am terrified of breaker boxes. I got half the lights out in the garage in here. So let's see if we get any feedback here. And when I say feedback, I mean let's see if one of these things kick back off after I turn it on. That would be a bad thing. Let's start with the tub outlet. Hey, we're good. And next. Good. 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 Heck yeah. Looking good. Boom. Got our lights back on in here now. Everything is turned back on that was turned off. Nothing jumped. Nothing popped. We are in business. We got our lights back. I guess I did it right. I am absolutely terrified of electrical. I got shocked once. Well, we got our hard part done, which was the electrical. That's the hard part, right? So now, let's go ahead and brace this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come inside here right along this floor. I'm going to put a 2x4 and run one across the ceiling and put a bunch of 2x4s in between it. Beat them in with a hammer to make sure that it's a press fit. It's lifting on the ceiling. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a moment. We got to get the weight off of this right here. That way, once the weight is off of that, we can start cutting stuff out and fix this up. So let's get it knocked out. So here we are. Normally I would suggest that you need to have these need to be vertical. I did kind of like an A-frame thing with it. I didn't want to cut these now because I'm going to be using them for my wall studs later. So it would be wasted material if I cut them too short. So, yeah, anyway, here we are. I shot one screw in each at the tops and the bottoms of the boards to make sure they don't move. And we are good to go ahead and start moving all this out of here. So first thing, I'm going to knock this post out here. We're going to take this out all the way over to right here. And once we have this out, then I'm going to come back and build out a new header, put the header up to the top all the way across, and measure my gap and get my jack stud. It's going to go against this right here, right up there. So let's knock it out. So the thickness of the header board is right at 4 inches, or 3.5 inches is what it is. Right here we got the 2x10 and a 2x10 with a 1/2 inch piece of plywood in the middle to make the gap larger. And that way it can accommodate the width of a 2x4 like this right here. Otherwise it'll be short 1/2 inch on either side or whatever. So yeah, for the header, we're going to do, we got the 2x10 and I've got 1/2 inch plywood laid out here. Screw them in place, make a big sandwich, and mount it. We have a completed header and a raised load-bearing wall. So call that a beam, if you will. This wall's officially opened up. Let me take a step back further. Now this thing is huge. That is a 5.5 foot opening there across that floor. That's going to be the entryway to the shower. So I was up on a ladder trying to put this thing in, and boy did I struggle. This beam across here is probably about 80 pounds. I got it together. I put it up onto that side first. You know, I had this jack stud here set in place. I only had it held in place with 2 screws to make sure if I was off on my measurements that I could just unscrew it and go cut it a little bit shorter. But I had it right on the money. So I put the beam in this portion here, this half over here. I sat it up there. I was on a step ladder, and then I just held it in my hand and got it up to there. But it did not want to go in there. It took a lot of effort. I had to smack it a lot with a hammer. You see the little dents from the hammer right there. But I had to hit it with a hammer a good bit. Finally got it up there, shot the screws in, it's good to go. So we now have our entryway here. So looking at the shower, let's fish eye this thing. There we go. So looking at the shower, this board I've cut already off camera. It's not attached. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I want this to kind of flow in at that angle. You know, it'll have a more open feel. It won't feel so weird or whatever you want to call it. All right, so I'm new to using a speed square. This is a new thing to me. So I'm not going to get super involved in using that. You can look at a video that tells you how to use a speed square. But I had to find the angle right there for that board, that end, and then I had to find the angle for that right there, and then the length and everything else. And after a little bit of trial and error, as you see, that's a mismarked line right there. But after a little bit of trial and error, I finally got it right, got it in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this board and I'm going to go ahead and mimic, I'm just going to trace this same angle out on another 2x4. You know, I've got plenty of them here. And duplicate that. That'll be what I use to attach up here to the top corner of this this header, as well as over here to this wall right here. Apparently, I'm going to have to do a different one up here on the ceiling from that point there to that point there, and it will not be the same as this one because this one is on this side of this door right here. I'm going to have to put it up here, but right at the edge here. I want to have another 2x4 right here on this corner, and this will be the edge of the wall going this way. So yeah, I'm going to have to cut it down to fit right here and make it work. I'm going to have to get a piece of 2x4 and rip it down. So that's probably how I'll do it. It's overhanging about probably 3/8 of an inch at the base if you go all the way down here. So I'm going to have to cut that down there. This should be exciting. Well, I've stepped off in it now. All right, well, let's see what happens here. So I went ahead and got my my floor plate and my ceiling plate. Actually, we'll call them 2 ceiling plates. I went ahead and got both ceiling plates put in here. As you can see, I got tired of playing around with trying to get it right, and I broke out the laser level to make sure they're in line together. So the laser is across the bottom board here, and as we go up, you could see I'm about 1/4 inch off on the bottom board, and I'm probably 3/4 of an inch off on the top board. So I'm going to pull those screws out, pull the boards out to where they need to be, and shoot the screws back in them. So I got my boards moved. They are where they need to be on this wall here. New problem presents itself. Up there, I'm a little over 1/4 inch off on the top board, and it's already poking out this way. Look at that. It's already sticking out past the wall stud. Our wall stud is not level. It's bowed. I mean, it is what it is. That happens in in construction, no wall is actually square. It is in the crack. It's in the crack down there. It's not on the actual board, it's in the crack. Now look, as you go up, now it's on the board. 1/4 inch inside. Yep, see that line up there? About 1/4 inch to the right. So that's our deal. Our walls are not square, they're not level. I'm not fixing it. This is what we're working with. We're just gonna make it happen. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this corner piece knocked out. This is gonna be a difficult piece. I'm gonna have to take a 2x4 and rip it down. So I'm gonna take a chunk out of the side of it, essentially. And then it's gotta run up. It's gotta meet with the angle right here also. So we're gonna cut it to where it goes up against this wall right here. And then it's going to have that angle right there so that it's a good starting point for the face here. And then we're going to put another piece right here, another 2x4 that way to start the leading edge of our wall. So I got this this first corner wall stud in. I got it pretty much lined up where it needs to be, top and bottom. Again, the walls are out of square, so I did the best I could with what I have to work with here. All these are secured now. Everything is good to go. Now I got to put my wall studs in between here. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out my spacing here. Something to keep in mind is I am going to have a wall niche right here. So in doing so, I'm going to go ahead and frame it out. So let's... I'm going to look up some of the wall niches online, see the sizes, see what I want to go with, and we'll get that done. And there we have it, folks. Our finished first wall in the bathroom with our niche. Pearl, calm down. So I figured out what size hole I wanted by placing a board here. I knew that this is where my lower shelf would be because it's just above what I have back here to work with. You can see my fingers are under there. So that's where we're going to start at. It's a little bit below eye level, so eye level's about right here. So anyway, I figured this is just a reasonable space that I'd like to use. So that's where the lower niche there, and then we're gonna have an upper right here. So it's gonna have two. One, you know, I could put all my stuff there. My wife could put her stuff there. You know, it was a little tricky, but I got all these in here. I had to, you know, just kind of. I didn't use the speed square the way I should have with these angles. What I was doing was, I guess, working a little bit harder, thinking a little bit more than I had to. I would measure from the back side of this 2x4 here to this wall and write that measurement down. And then I would come over here and I'd measure the front side of this and I'd measure to right here and I'd write that down. And then I'd put the measurements on the 2x4 and I'd just connect a line between the two of them like that and I get my angle. So that's how I was getting my angles. I didn't really... Now this has been a learning experience trying to use a square, but yeah, here we are. It's not terrible. You know, it's as flush as it could be. Got our angle up there. And we come around the corner here. This is not a square wall, so there's some issues with that. But it's not bad. I have this little piece up there sticking out. Again, it's not terrible. It's flush with the header up top. It's flush up there, but it's not with this. I believe this board is warped a little bit. It's twisted. I tried to get it as straight as I could. I struggled with it, but I'm pretty sure the drywall coming up to the edge here before we tile over this, we could fill that with thin set and tile around the corner and fill in the gap. Same thing with this right here. This was a boo-boo right here. This is a big boo-boo. So let me tell you what happened here. These are cheap screws, I guess. I didn't know when I bought them. I've always used this brand. Yeah, they're exterior screws. Yeah, I'm using them interior. I shot a screw in right here, and what I was going to do is I was going to snug it up to the board, snug this one up to the board, and then I was going to back this one back out to where it was out of this gap here, and I was going to push this board in and then screw it back in, and it was going to be nice and tight. So when it went in, it stripped the head out inside there. So now the bit won't fit inside there. It just spins. I can't back it out. I thought about getting a Sawzall bi-metal blade and just cutting that right there and then pushing on it and shooting another screw in. But I'm going to see what our tile guy says when he comes over here. If he says, yes, we got to do that, then I'll do it. But I'm pretty sure that we're going to be using some of these Schluter niche little pocket things that are pre-made. It's got a flange all the way around this right here, and it recesses in there. It's got a back on it and everything, so you shouldn't have to, I shouldn't have to steal that because the flange should cover it, or at least cover half of it, and the flange is going to cover this next part too. Or I might buy the really tall one, and it'll eliminate the whole need for this one right here to begin with. Then I can just knock that back out, and we won't have to worry about it. But first things first, got to get the tile guy here, let him look at it, we'll talk about it, and go from there. Moving on now, we're going to come over here to this shower bench area. So I'll be doing a bench. It's going to go here. I'm contemplating doing a 45 right here, and then going straight back to the wall. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I don't like that sharp edge coming straight out and then going straight back to the wall. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and kind of eyeball it a little bit, figure out about how high I want it, and do some measurements and do some drawing on the ground and go from there. So I just spent a little time making some marks on the floor. And it coincidentally had nothing to do with that wall stud being right there, but the measurement that I came up with on my outside dimensions that I wanted was going to be right about where that wall stud is. You see that line on the floor there. I traced it straight out. It is square line, and then I went ahead and traced out from right there where I wanted to go to. I wrote down what I'm at, 11.5 inches there. This one right here is 19 inches from the wall. And then I took my square and I held it up to the wall, and I Googled the height first. It says most of the shower benches are about 17 to 19 inches after you take into account the buildup of the floor. So the floor, if I don't do a curbless, which I may not do, because after a little bit further research looking at this subfloor in here, apparently I'm going to have to not only remove this subfloor, but the joists that are underneath here. I would actually have to cut the top of the joist probably 3/4 of an inch to an inch out of the 2x10s that are under there. And when that affects the structural integrity of it, I'd have to sister new joists in there to be correct. It's a big deal. This is on the second floor in the house. There's a load-bearing wall that's resting on these joists right here in front of me. Probably not a good idea. So after a lot of serious consideration, not wanting a curb, I'm probably going to do a curb. So it is what it is. You adapt and overcome, right? So with that said, not having a curb, my wife said she wanted to have the shower bench at the 19 inches, if that's what it says within code, is 17 and 19 inches. But she wants it a little bit taller. I'm banking on 3 inches of floor of thin set and shower pan and all that to build up. So I got this mark here on the wall set at 23 inches. So we should be right at 19.5 inches or something like that by the time the shower pan gets built up. We're going to have a 3 foot, almost 3.5 feet distance between the exterior wall here where the curb would be to where the shower drain would be over there. This is a little over 6 feet square right here. So yeah, that's because of that, we're going to have a really thick shower pan. So yeah, so I'm going to run this at 23 inches. I'm going to get some wood cut, lay it down here, box this thing in, get a seat put on it and all that. I'm going to make sure that when I build this, it's going to have a slope. I didn't mention it earlier, but you saw me with the level over here on the niche. This is actually sloped outward. So I made sure that when I use the level, I pitched it just a hair. That way, you know, when they do whatever they have to do, if they tile over this or if we use a Schluter Systems, you know, prefabbed niche, I don't know what they're going to do. But just in case they want to tile over this, put some cement board on here and actually tile over it, this is now sloped. So that way when the water hits inside here, it's going to run out. It's not going to just pull up down here in this corner. So I don't know if you saw me doing that or not, but I did put a level on that to make sure it slopes out. Just as important on the bench. Got to make sure that when we put the bench in, the top of it is sloping out this direction. That way, you know, any water is going to run off the bench this way instead of pulling up towards the back. It just creates problems down the road. We don't want it. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and draw my 45 degree here. I'll take some measurements, get my boards, figure out how I want to do it, get my angles and all that. And you guys just sit back, watch, and enjoy the show. So after at least an hour of going back and forth with my measurements, because somebody needs to teach this boy how to measure and how to find angles the right way. I struggle with these crazy angles. But anyway, here we are. I have all my wood cut, pre-cut. You see I got one for the bottom, one for the top on all these around the base here. I've got 2 for the sides, these 2 here for the sides. This one here is going to go across the back. So with that done there, that should be enough structural support to go ahead and get my piece of plywood and screw that down to the top of this and have an actual bench. So anyway, let's put it together. So I'm pretty sure the camera died while I was putting this together, so it is what it is. But here's the framing, the structure. You get it. Relatively simple here. I'm going to get another piece to go between right here and right there. Put that in. And I'm going to put a brace across the middle here. Possibly 2 braces. I don't want it to be flimsy, so I don't know. Yeah, I'll put one across the middle. Also got to do 2x6s between the gaps here, as well as all the gaps all the way around the shower at the bottom. That way when they put the membrane up the wall, it's got something to attach to instead of just going to a blank space between studs. Let's get this piece in right here, get the support in here. We'll get the seat on there and have a look at what we have. And here we are, pretty much complete with the bench. I think it's going to look good. Now, remember, even though it looks like it might be kind of high, this floor is going to come up about 2.5 or 3 inches. So it's not a big deal. It's actually going to lower that about 2.5 or 3 inches. I think it's perfect. Just enough depth. You got to account for about a 1/2 inch of cement board to go against this. And also to go against this right here. So it's going to be shortened a 1/2 inch on each side. Then you're going to have to add thin set. And then of course your tile, which is going to be probably another 1/2 inch. So it's going to be at least 1 inch shorter. So we're talking right here. all the way around will be shorted. So by the time that's done, I'm done for today. I've been working for hours. I gotta call it a night. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. This is going to wrap up episode 7 on the bathroom remodel. Do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button if you like the video, and subscribe if you haven't so you can be notified of future content being released. You're watching DIY Dozier. As always, share the knowledge, share the passion, share the skill, do it yourself.